Good evening and welcome to another Wednesday night of painting miniatures. Hopefully we will get a little bit further. Last time we basically just shaded these guys down, mostly using just dark shades inks on the pants and leather parts, and then some contrast paint for the cape and jacket. In the end I decided that these guys here are just using one big coat or jacket or whatever that flows into one, because I couldn't really see. I mean, yeah, maybe you could have said the cloak starts here, but in the end I'm going for tabletop ready here, guys. I'm not going for display display quality stuff. But we also need to plug in their wee little faces. This guy here is going to be fun because it's got a lot of white from one side. Hey Waheen, yeah, hey AJ. So yeah, so it's gonna be fun because on the other side, due to the way I must have held the airbrush when I did the priming, he's pretty sort of two-faced. Let's see if I can actually get him in focus here. Almost. Maybe enough to see that he's pretty white-faced there and he's pretty dark-faced on the other side. Oh, thanks AJ. I am doing really well. This afternoon I went for a nice long walk with a really good friend. Actually the friend that made this crazy Ugenuk thing. Wait. Oh yeah. Yep, it says so right here on the stream that AJ is also awesome, as is Bladio. Although I may retract my statement about Bladio, since he completely annihilated me in Star Realms earlier today. And it had absolutely nothing to do with me just basically messing up my game completely. Yeah, well actually, he and I both thought that I had him for a really long time, and then at the end I just came to a halt. Yeah, it just didn't work. Suffice it to say that this is where it ended. And then I think it went from him having about 24 life or whatever it is left, and I had more than 40, and he won 24-0. So yeah, I got soundly beaten there at the end. Also, I apologize. Right, it's called Authority, and I apologize because I just need to shake up some paint. Right. So, paint shook up without destroying your ears. Again, it's this Vortex tattoo ink bottle shaker thingy that gets quite loud. Yeah, well, I also hadn't really played Star Realms in a while, but then Bladio apparently seems to have found it quite recently, and I figured, hey, let's take a game, because it is actually a pretty good and solid game. At least I think it is. Yeah, I mean, the campaign, I quickly grew tired of that. Doing all these weird things that seem like fun gimmicks in many ways, but I just found that it mostly just skewed the game in ways where it stopped working properly, like having all the scouts give you 2 money instead of 1 money. Of course it changes the game, but I also think it kind of fiddled a little bit, because yes, you get more money, but that just means that a lot of the ships you would normally buy that gives you 2 money or whatever, they stop being as interesting, and then you don't really have a lot of room for the cheap ships, except if you go for strictly combat ships, but then you don't really get the money necessary to buy the bigger ones, and yeah, so it's there were some things there. Anywho, on with the painting. But yeah, but no, earlier today I had a really nice walk out in the snow. We had, well, at least something resembling snow. I'm sure the Canadians and Norwegians, if they're listening, basically anyone else not living in a tropical climate zone, I'm pretty sure they would laugh at our concept of snow. But it was nice. So, yeah. No answer. Party time. Love getting out of work. Yeah, congrats on that. And then after I came home, which is also why I was a little bit delayed, I gave myself the luxury of just taking a really, really long bath in the bathtub. And watched the latest episode of The Expanse. No worries, I will not be spoiling, and I will not say anything about what happens. But yeah. When they don't answer, I just wait for a call back. That is absolutely true. That is a good way of doing it. I kind of have this sometimes when people call, maybe depending a little bit on who it is. But especially if it's numbers I don't recognize, or then if people call and don't leave me a message, I'm just kind of going, well, if you're not leaving me a message, then it apparently wasn't important enough that I should call you back immediately. Don't necessarily have to say what it's all about. It can just be, hey, I need to talk to you, please call back. Oh, well, I think it was the season premiere that came out today. No, finale. Sorry, premiere is in the other end of the season, I guess. Okay, so this phase here, just jump straight back into the painting. I think it's gonna be really, really rewarding to paint, because it's very, very exaggerated. Yeah, AJ, exactly. Do something like that. That will definitely get me my attention, and will make me go, oh shit, I need to call back immediately. Whereas if it's just calling up, not leaving a message, then hanging up again, it's just like, oh, okay, well, you probably just wanted to say hi and chat. I'll catch you at some other point. I don't know if that makes me a bad person or not. There we go. That's one phase done. Oh, you're going up to the summer house? I guess it's up in Gilleleje. Which is, by the way, I guess also a terrible place name for foreigners. AJ, try pronouncing the word Wohin just posted. It's actually pronounced Gilleleje. And I can't really find any good sort of English words to explain it with. Like saying the beginning of this word, the second sentence of that word, the sound of whatever. Because it is just Gilleleje. Well, going to the cottage, actually, technically speaking, Gilleleje is actually north from where I am at the moment. It's not on the north end, or north side of Sjælland, which is the main island where you have Copenhagen in the east. You have Roskilde, which was a famous cathedral town. Well, it still is, I guess. I think actually way back in the Viking Age, the king used to have court in Roskilde, but don't hang me up on that. It's yeah. So you say Michigan and Ontario all say up north because it's more like summer house areas. Yeah, well, it's the same here. I mean, the north coast of Sjælland, Sealand as it's sometimes called by non-Danes. That's basically a very large. They have some very large summer house areas. But then again, that's a very nice beach. There, lots of sandy beaches, really nice scenery. Nothing fancy like mountains or anything like that. It's just nice. It's a good place. So yeah. So what have you guys been up to? Anything interesting going on today in your part of the world? Oh man, small hands. Oh, hey Rex. I will be painting. Also cannot speak today, apparently. I lose that ability once in a while. I am going to be painting my nails invisible. Because that would be an interesting thing to do. So I have taken a paint that doesn't exist and I painted on my nails, hoping that it also makes them don't exist. It's a bit like turning on a black light, not a black light like a UV lamp, but a darkness lamp that removes light. Both of which are, of course, physically impossible, but when has that ever stopped any of us from doing anything? Oh, so AJ, you've got a few days off work. That is cool. Congratulations. That should give you plenty of time to paint some miniatures, because I know you've done that at some point. Thank you, Rex. I'm guessing you're off to see Corpse playing Baldur's Gate 3. Oh, you also have your Rocket League, of course, on Wednesdays. And hey, Modifian, welcome to the party. We have lots of wonderful people. One of them heading off to prep for his own stream, but that is perfectly fine. I'll catch you later, Rex. Thanks for dropping by. Rocket League Wednesdays, yeah. Now again, especially his left hand here on the back side, it looks very sort of exposed and not too well painted at the moment, but it's actually going to be fine because he's got the huge cloak that will cover it up. We'll get to that later. So that is both of them done. Then we just need to switch into the last guy here. I think I should give them names at some point. One of the fun things about Malifaux is that almost all the characters do have names, but these ones here are just called Pistoleros because they're minions, so they're not as important as the other guys, I guess, guys and gals. Like we have Perdita, Santiago, Francisco, and so on, and then we just have these Pistoleros, which is kind of sort of sad in a way. I mean, it's lacking a little bit. So I think I'm gonna try and find some suitable names. If you have any suggestions, go right ahead and post them in chat. I may actually be able to remember them. See, one thing I really like about these miniatures, again, I know I am more or less praising these to the sky on a regular basis. But one thing here is that even though we have 3 Pistoleros, which have basically, they have the exact same stats. It's the same model, but they've made 3 different ones, so you can actually you can actually see them apart on the battlefield and remember which one is which. I mean, we have this guy here who I mean, this guy owns the world. Look at the way he's standing there, especially if he's in focus. People in focus tend to rule the world a little bit more. But that's actually reflected on the small cards you get with their stats and all that. So there are 3 different cards for those. So you can actually see which model is which card, and use that to add condition markers like poison, burning, keep track of the wounds and so on. So that's really, really nice that they do it instead of just taking the same sculpt 3 times. And one thing I just noticed here that made me think of it is that despite them being the same model, their face region is quite different from miniature to miniature. Like this guy here, he's got a lot of visible neck, especially if you keep him in frame. And the other guys, one of them, all right, he's really sort of, he's buttoned up completely. So, come on, camera. You only see his face. I mean, this is me going out in winter, more or less. You know, tall collar going up. At least that's how I interpret the miniature. And the last dude here, he's got a little bit more. He's even got a cigarette. Don't know if you can catch that. Small cigarette sticking out of his mouth, which is going to be pretty easy and fun to paint it. So while that dries off, let us, let's go for a little bit of red. We need to highlight the red parts up again. Now, what have I said about this red color? As much as I really like using it because the pigments in it just does something right. Yeah, it gets a little, really gets a little messy. But anyway. I mean, I've got to complain about something, right? And if that's all I have to complain about, which is, it kind of is, at least in my own life, then I would say that I am pretty well off. So yeah, so Rex is off prepping for a stream. AJ might be working. Waheen, what are you up to? Playing computer? Playing Hades? And more importantly, Waheen, are you up for some Vermintide later today? Cool. I'll let you know once I'm done and have done my pre-stream stuff. I usually do this, that line up the miniatures I've painted after streaming, just to get a nice picture to use for thumbnail. I don't know what it does for anything, but I like finishing it off in that way, so I don't just get a random image of my hands going in front of the camera, which it tends to prefer Twitch for some reason. And not even ones where I'm holding the miniature. It literally are ones where you'll see both my wrists right in front of the camera and nothing else, which doesn't really say much about what I actually do on stream. So just posting a picture of the finished miniatures. I'm hoping it also kind of draws people in going, oh, hey, I actually want to see this being done. So yeah, I need to do this. Oh, it's all coming apart. I think that does it. Now the main problem I have with the current rig, the arm I'm using for my main camera, is that the way all the screws and stuff fit means that the camera is currently resting to the side where the weight of the camera will actually unscrew one of the things holding it in place. So it sometimes takes a little bit of wiggling to put it in it not in the right place, but a little bit beyond the right place, and just screwing it slowly sort of back so it tightens up and hits the right angle. It's a little annoying thing, but we'll deal with it. So again, here I'm just sort of touching up, the raised parts, the main parts, and for the gun belt here, I generally just decide that it's sort of the main part of it, but for the holsters, I'm only doing the edges, so the recessed areas on the holsters should come out a lot darker than the other ones. Oh, cool. So well, you're playing Hades, that's cool. I should get more into that game. I really like the setting. I like the humor they've placed on the Greek characters they have. I think it gives it a really nice spin to see people actually saying, oh yes, this is ancient Greek mythology. Let's make it fun. Let's say, I mean, we have Dionysus, Lord of Revelry, the dance, wine, what happens when you drink a lot of wine, and yeah, why wouldn't that guy be basically a drunkard who just want to have a party? Because that is what Dionysus' main attributes were. That was his purpose of existence. So I try and lock that up as him being sort of serene, serious, because he was a god and it's ancient Greece and it's a boring topic in school, therefore it should also be boring, and blah blah. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah, for those who don't know, Hades is an isometric game, I guess it is, where you're basically looking up at about a 45-degree angle. This guy running around trying to escape the Greek underworld. I can't remember what his calls is. Sacrida, whatever, something like that. But anyway, he doesn't want to be there anymore, so he runs out of his room. I think he's Hades' child or something. So he tries to run out and run through these levels. So it's a roguelike, as they're called, where you see how far you get before you die. And then after that, you get some upgrades, and then on your next run, you can hopefully do better. So that's the core game design level-wise for that. And you just run around, beat up monsters, beat up urns and small statues or whatever. So if you like that kind of game, it's not a platformer because you don't have the jump puzzles and things like that. You're just running around beating up these things. And as Wohin says, if you like that kind of game, it's really well made. Of course, if you don't like that game, you'll see it the second you see a video of it that it's just not for you. So you shouldn't join in the fun. But yeah, but it is fun. Now, actually, because of that game, I borrowed a controller from Sirincal. Sometimes show up here. Simply because when I played it first, I mean, Siri also Sirical, also plays it quite a lot. And when I first tried it, I talked to him about it, and I really did not like the controls because I was playing with a keyboard. And there's something about, me pressing to the right would not make him, I think it doesn't make him follow the axis, the orthogonal axis in the world, but makes him look, it looks like he's running at a 45-degree angle compared to the tiles on the floor, for instance. And that completely threw off my mind. I could not wrap my head around that way of controlling, so I couldn't. Or maybe it was something like he actually follows the orthogonal axis, which means that if I'm pressing right, he's not really going to the right, he's going at an odd angle from my point of view. And your mileage may vary, this is just my preferred way of doing it. So I borrowed one of Siri's old Xbox controllers, and that really changed how the game plays. I mean, that makes it so much better and more fun to play. So yeah. So I did that. And then I got distracted by playing other games and doing other things than playing games, and yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, lately I've also been playing a lot of Vermintide, mainly because I find it oddly relaxing. And I know this sounds weird, but I have some proof to back me up here. Vermintide is basically a first-person melee fantasy game. It's set in the Warhammer world, blah 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 blah. I love the Warhammer world, you know that. But basically, you get swarmed with enemies, mostly Skaven, hence Vermintide. Skavens are ratmen, for those who don't know. So, running around in that game, and they just pile up all over the place, and you just really, you get a few moments of respite once in a while, but other than that, you're really just swamped in small rat men trying to eat you, or at least stab you with poke you with sharp sticks. But a few days ago, I started wearing one of the silly little pulse trackers. Just to keep track of my stress levels and relaxation. I started taking some walks again once in a while. It's really kind of fun. I just think it's fun to see how many steps did I take, stuff like that. It's kind of a mini game. But this weekend when I played Among Us with Bladio and some of the other people, my pulse, my stress levels. The stress levels is not the same as the pulse. They have some other way of measuring it. But my stress levels more or less went through the roof, because Among Us really is a sneaky, stabby, hidey, trying to convince the others that you are not the imposter, no matter if you are or not. And that really just put up my stress level. I really, really like that. And it's not long-term stress, by the way. It's nothing like that. It's just the here and now. There's something about the heart rhythms and stuff like that. Anyway, when I the next day played a lot of Vermintide with Wohin, I was also wearing the tracker, and it turns out that period of the day, and those about 2-3 hours, were the most relaxing time I had all day. So in the middle of this frantic, furious mob combat right up in my face, when I'm running around, and we actually played on, I think we played on veteran, so we had a bit of a challenge there from time to time. I think that was the day we actually wiped a couple of times, so we were challenged, which is good. And my stress levels were just way down, and I don't know why that is. I mean, so much going on, but it might have something to do with me feeling like I'm in control. That really is the best thing I can think of. That I'm sitting there and I usually play with the archer. I think I was playing with, was I playing the witch hunter? Wow, potato, Wohin. Yeah, we sucked. We messed up quite a lot, and then we wiped big time. Yeah, the bot should have saved us. That's true. It's always the robot's fault. They've forgotten, the three laws that they should never allow a human to come to harm, and all of that. Can we just do this? They allowed us to come to harm a great number of times. So yeah. No, but even so, I mean, playing that game and it's being frantic, and then realizing afterwards that I'm actually really, really relaxed while playing that. I just found it to be a bit interesting. So what else do we have to talk about today? Well, I had the role-playing group over yesterday. That's one of the very small number of people I actually see on a regular basis during lockdown. And we continued our adventures in Greyhawk with a small group of people. We were playing 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. We wanted to do some more sort of back to the basics style role-playing games. Wanted to have a little fun along the way, and we wanted to see how is the latest edition of Dungeons and Dragons. And it's been great fun. And most of yesterday was, we had one player off sick, so we kind of just took it nice and quietly, sort of tied up a few loose ends, did some administrative work, talked a little bit about what they wanted to do, and also how we want to run the campaign. And that's one of the things I like about role-playing games as an adult as opposed to when I was a kid. We're not fooling each other into believing that the game master can sort of trick us. I mean, of the 5 people in the group, 3 of us have pretty regularly been dungeon masters, game masters of some kind for the past 25 years, on off. So we all know that game. We know how it goes. One of the players is the partner of one of the other players, so she also knows how it goes. I mean, it's how it is. They know all the ins and outs. They know that game masters fudge dice rolls. I mean, we may not say during play when we do it, but I mean, it's not really a secret. So we don't have to worry about that level of deception as such. And we're all grown-ups, adults, and so on. So we can actually assist each other telling a really good story. Like, none of us really. We have a term that some people call metagaming, but me coming from other places where meta means something different, or especially metagaming means something different, we call it player-based knowledge. And the term, what we're referring to are, for instance, people who will see a troll. The characters don't know anything about trolls, but the player does. So when the troll shows up, oh hey, we're gonna use fire weapons. Sorry if I spoiled that for anyone that trolls are afraid of fire, and extra, what's it called? Fire is good against trolls. That's what I'm trying to say. So basically, what we do, basically, yeah. So people know this. But then they have a tendency to just go, would my character know this? Nope, my character has never fought trolls and have not listened to any tales about trolls, have not, hung out on adventuring inns, taverns, or whatever. So why would I know this? Sure, I'm a mage, I'll throw Fireball at it because it makes sense to throw Fireball because it's a good spell. But I will not go out of my way to throw oil and at it and burn it any more than if I was basically just a pyromaniac and that was part of my story. Then I would do it, but then I would also do it if we met anything else. So playing with those kind of players is really fun because they will actually impose limitations on themselves. And players who put limitations on themselves give for some really, really interesting situations, as you can probably guess. And I just basically just love the concept. And it makes it so much nicer also because they know that I'm not gonna just randomly kill them off in an encounter. If I ever actually do kill them off, which I might, then it's not because they hadn't read the rules enough. It's not because they hadn't read the entire monster manual and memorized it. It is not because they didn't choose the stat-wise optimal attack or whatever. As long as they stay in character and roleplay their characters believably, then I would far more have that and then fudge a few die rolls to keep them alive than, or fudge a few die rolls to make it more fun to see them almost die. That would be way more fun to me than doing a fully open, honest, you can see all my die rolls. Yes, you are so good and talented at optimizing your characters, so you have won at D&D or whatever. I don't believe you can win at D&D, but you can have more or less fun. So, you know, playing with those kind of players is really fun because they will do something like our paladin. They wake up in the middle of the night seeing the troll heading towards them. Not the best encounter I've made, not a good way of doing it. Do it better if you're a DM. Be better than me. A lot better, that should be easy. But what the paladin does is he doesn't go into the whole, okay, so to be absolutely optimal, I have to, you know, just say that the troll is, I don't know, about 100 feet away or something like that. They got fair warning. So I'm just gonna spend two rounds putting on at least some of my armor or whatever. No, he sees a troll. He charges in his loincloth, more or less, or whatever underwear he was wearing at the time. And these are the kind of players I deal with. And a lot of people will say, oh wait, that is absolutely stupid. But if you think about it, you wake up in the middle of the night, you see a troll hitting for you. It's about 100 feet away. 100 feet is not far away. I mean, it's like the other side of a small parking lot. It is, what, the length of not very many cars. Like 5-6 cars or something like that. And then you have a troll and it's heading for you. Then you're not going to stop, put down your sword and trying to drag really quickly a chainmail or chain shirt over your face. No, you're just either going to get ready for its charge or you're going to charge it depending on how insane you are. Plus, it's a paladin. He wants to protect his party members. So I think it made perfect sense. He got a thorough beating out of it, mind you, but it was never the idea that the trolls should really be lethal and kill them unless they did something even more stupid, like going, oh, it probably just wants a cookie, or it's probably just passing through. We're not going to do anything at all. If they'd done that, yeah, they might not have survived. At least they would have found out that the troll had intentions of harming them, and if they still did nothing, you know the score on that. So anyway, I just really like playing with those kind of players, and I mean these people in particular, also because I've been playing with them for like 20-25 years now, some of them. That's just, we know each other's play style. We know how to engage each other, how to build adventures in a way that we all enjoy, and we are actually, I think, sort of patting ourselves on the back here. We're actually pretty good at sort of debriefing and evaluating what worked and what didn't work, and then talk about it pretty openly and just say, okay, so now we've done this. Was that fun for you guys? And even if they were entertained or whatever, that's not the whole point of that exercise. Part of it is also, what do you want to see in the games? Because it is everyone's game. It's not me, the DM, who gets to decide everything. Yeah, sure, I run the game, but it's so much more fun running the game where the players give some input and say, okay, we actually want some more city adventures. Then I'm not going to go, no, you get another dungeon, and it is out in the wilderness, far from any city. But why? That's not fun for anyone. I mean, Not fun for me, not fun for them, not fun, period. So, anywho, I am gibbering on as usual. So yeah, so I had those over yesterday, and we had fun, as always. And it's especially fun because we have a new player in the group that only started playing role-playing games about 6 months ago, and have only played D&D 5th edition, has no really frame of reference for role-playing games in general. She has played a handful of board games, or quite a lot of board games, I think, over the last few years, gotten into that hobby. But role-playing games and all of that, and the way the rules flow and the amount of rules when your first character is a spellcaster, that's been a little bit fun. Well, technically her second character, but that's yeah. Basically, again, yeah. Technically her second character, in reality, her first. So, and it's, yeah, we're just having fun. She is, by the way, the sorcerer who took out an imprisoned merchant family by a few very well placed fireballs. She knew there were bandits in the room. She did not know they had prisoners. She figured, wait, I'm gonna be effective here. I'm gonna blast all of it. And then they come into the room, realize that yeah, there were prisoners in those cages. And basically, if you have a standard old style iron barred cage, it's not really good protection against the fireball, is it? Can't even dodge very well when you're in there and haven't really eaten for a few weeks, and it's weak and all that. So that was a sad day for the party, but we'll see how it goes. At least they got all the bandits. Okay, this one here. Yeah, and then they also used the chance to give them a lot of treasure, magical items and stuff like that. Because a while back I realized that, I mean, if you're playing D&D and if you want to be able to use, at least as a guideline, the stuff like the challenge rating and things like that, then you have to look at more at what level are the characters. You actually also have to factor in what gear they have, especially in the magical items, because it will make a few changes to what they can and cannot take. I mean, even just a +1 armor or protection or whatever, +1 armor class. I mean, it may only be 5% advantage when push comes to shove. But I mean, those 5% can mean a lot in the long run. So if you have either a lengthy battle or several encounters or what have you, then I think a part of that, if you only look at the rules, I mean, as long as you're just doing role playing and just adjusting everything continuously, but I'm actually curious about the system as a system as well. So we talked about that again. Communication with your players, always a good idea. Communication with your DM, if you are a player, always a good idea. Let your DM know what you love playing. So I just realized that they hadn't really gotten a lot of magical items, partly because I've been way too busy just keeping the game alive, but also because a lot of the stuff they've done was more social role-playing. You're in a town, talking to some people, fixing something that doesn't really give you a big reward in itself. I mean, it's not like you found a treasure chest at the end. You just managed to convince this guy that he was being an idiot and he should let these people get on their way. Sure, they can be grateful, but I mean, if they're peasants, they're not going to give you a +200 sword. It's just not realistic. My world does not work like that. beat up someone out in a bandit hideout or an orc war chief's treasure chest or whatever, yeah, sure, you might find something like that. He might actually be wielding the magical weapons because he's not that stupid. I mean, he did become a war chief or whatever at some point. I'm just completely freeforming here, improvising stuff. But another reason why I hadn't really given them a lot of items and things is that for the better part of 2 decades, we've actually been running a fairly loose style of campaigns in stuff like Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, Shadowrun, Earthdawn are the main systems we're using. And the worlds are either homebrewed or whatever we feel like playing in. So what's happened for us as a group, also because we basically always play with the same people, at least the core of the group. I have seen your message, Modifian, I'll get to it in a little bit. But what happens in this group is that we just kind of find a way where, you know, we don't want to do the nitty-gritty accounting of, you know, the inn costs 2 silver pieces to stay at, and you buy 1 flagon of ale extra, so that's 5 copper. And then you kill an orc and you find 4 silver pieces and 3 copper. We really don't want to spend time on that. So we basically just, we stay at an inn and we pay a few money. Okay, so that comes out of pocket cash, petty cash. And then for larger things, that mainly comes through role-playing. You know, talking to major NPCs or whatever, or just building it into your character's backstory. Like if you have a really powerful artifact or something like that, if you're starting at a high level, you just have these things, and it's been in your family for generations, whatever. So of course it's imbued with magic. But D&D, starting from first level, you don't really have any magical items, and since I didn't give them any, almost didn't give them any, they didn't have any. So I had to give them some. So I started looking at what level they were, trying to figure out what would be appropriate, you know, how many, how powerful, stuff like that. And I just threw a bunch of stuff at them. Not things where they could use, you know, all the things, and not, you know, tailored to this particular party. I mean, they have a paladin, but he's a shield paladin. He prefers that line of style. But that didn't stop me from throwing in a greatsword with some magical abilities, whatever. Or just a medium armor instead of his heavy armor, because I'm not going to tailor it specifically to them. Some of the stuff were generic enough, like a bag of holding, sending stones, and so on, that they could all use it, because healing potions, that's what. They're going to need a few of those pretty soon. If you're listening and watching, dear players, forget I said that. No, but I mean, I didn't want to specifically tailor it to them and saying, okay, so we have a paladin, so we should get him this. We have a rogue, so we should get him this. We have a monk, so we should get her this. I tried making things that several of them could use, but I didn't sort of go out of my way to do it, if that makes sense at all. And that turned into them keeping about half the items and going off to sell the rest. Which leads to the very interesting topic of the economy of magical items in a fantasy world. That is a really weird topic to get into, and I do not have any good answers for it. I can tell you what I'm doing, and it'll most likely be different from what you're doing, but at some point you just gotta have to accept that this is completely bonkers. It will make about as much sense as the stock markets out in the real world, so I guess my model is kind of realistic in that sense. So yeah. Okay, I think I should be moving on from this guy here. It's just this ribbon is so rewarding to just sit here and highlight. But I need to move on. it's visible. You can see the shadows in it. So, what is Modifian writing? Lol, I'm sure they help with the PTSD nightmares. Well, wait, Modifian, did you murder a bunch of innocent people, or are you talking Among Us, or? Oh, is it our adventures in Forbidden Lands? We may have burned down a city there. Well, it wasn't us. It was the demon that did it. Isn't that sort of the story we're sticking to? So. That is true. I'm sure the villagers are quite capable of doing exactly that. That's a reference to a game where Modifi and I played together, and I can't actually remember all the details of this, but somehow a small fishing village may have burned down a bit. I'm not saying we were to blame, but we were in town when it happened, and we did leave the town pretty quickly afterwards. Yeah. So trying out a kind of, well, not such a new technique here, but it didn't do the pants. It didn't highlight the pants in the other models. Just figured I'm just gonna try to give it just a quick run through here, just in the folds in the fabric, really, just to give it a little bit of shade, of, well, highlighting, shading. So, yeah. And here we have the knee. I'm just going to turn that into kind of a blob, I guess. Just do a quick line out here, a few lines here, a little bit. No, we already did that. I'm sorry about mumbling. It looks weird, but it works. I kind of think it works. At least it's not so weird that I want to, paint it over and redo it. It would just be a waste of time. So there. Yeah, it just emphasizes the shadows just a bit. Let's do that on the others as well. But Modifian, what about you and role-playing games? Have you been up to anything lately? Also, I mean, this is the part of miniature painting that I have traditionally never been good at. I mean, big time crap soggy at this. And that's the thing, is that here I don't just get things, quote unquote, for free by shading or dry brushing things. I actually have to sit here and make a conscious decision about where the paint goes. In many ways, painting miniatures, you just do the base coat and simple stuff like quickly just shading them. It's a little bit like painting by numbers. I mean, you can see this is the shirt. I'm going to paint this red. These are the pants. They're going to be green. Then I'm going to get all of it a nice wash. Bam, done. And you can get really great results with that. But what we're aiming at here is to actually find the raised parts of the miniature and just add a little bit of color to those. Which means that while I do have the lines of the miniature to go by, I still have to decide how thick a line to draw. Should it go on the on the upside here, which I'm trying to do, it makes sense. Trying to imagine that he's being lit up from above, but I still have to consider where should the paint go. I can't just sort of slap it on and say, okay, this is the pants. I'll paint it down to where I think it's boots, and then stop there. I have to do it a lot more precise and kind of planned out. But that is also where you get the good effects. I mean, that's when the miniatures will really start to pop and look great on the table, even if you're just doing a simple sort of tabletop ready paint job. I mean, I can see it on the pants already. I'll just do his left leg and then try to show you and compare with his right leg to see the differences. And yes, you're up close. You can actually you can see that through the magnifying glass. You can see that this is a completely different color in a single line. I mean, it wishy-washes together a little bit for me here. I get a little bit of blending effects because I'm using a fairly thin down paint, so I can sort of, when I spread it out, especially when it dries up, it's semi translucent, transparent. So it actually doesn't cover completely, so it melts in or blends in with whatever is underneath it, which was the darker color. So that makes it a little bit easier to control. Also not sure why I'm doing highlights underneath his coat. There shouldn't be that much light coming in there. But I mean, this is the part where I want to improve my craft at painting miniatures. We also have a pretty nasty mold line running down the edge here that I did not scrape off completely. So almost done. Just need to work my way around to his inner thighs in honor of Modifian. It's just a little bit here. I mean, this kind of highlighting, I never learned that back when I started in the 90s. Highlighting for me, the way I learned to paint miniatures, which was basically just by myself in my room at night. It was really just base coat, shade, dry brush in a lighter color, and that never really went well because when you dry brush, you don't get sort of the solid color going on areas. You always get sort of gritty. Like if you have a rasterized image, you typically see that in newspapers, especially older newspapers. If you actually look at it, you can see all the small dots. You get that effect, which looks a little dirty, I guess, and very matte in the finish, and not sort of shiny popping highlights. You could get away with a lot by doing a glaze over it, but then you tone it down a little bit. But so I'm actually working quite far out of my comfort zone in this attempt to sort of relearn painting miniatures. So yeah. But if you look at his left leg and his right leg, especially the parts here, right underneath the strap on his just over his left knee, and the folds underneath. If you look over here where you have something similar to that, you can still see the differences because I did add shade last time, so you can see a little bit of highlighting going on, but not as visible as here. And in real life, without the camera, it is actually it is more visible. Come on, little camera. What did it turn off? I might be able to adjust this a little. It might be a little brighter so you can see it more clearly. So on his left leg here, you see the lines. I drew in the lines. And yeah, it looks a little fake up close, but at a distance, all of a sudden, the shades just pop that extra bit. And again, going for tabletop ready, blah, 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 yeah. Anyway, I'll shut up and paint. See, here I overdid it a little bit. This glitched a bit. But I mean, a small glitch like that can actually be fixed by taking a wet brush and just kind of doing a little bit of wet blending and pulling the excess paint that I slapped onto his leg, just pulling that away from the recess and out. There's still a little bit of it left in there, but it is nowhere near as clear and visible as it was before that. So it's really simple trick. Just take a wet brush and just very gently apply it to where you had too much paint, and just spread the paint around just a little bit and pull it up. See, that's one thing I'm good at, is correcting mistakes like that, because I've done that. I've done my share of that. So and again here, I'm not going to go into that much detail on the back of his legs here, partly because it's not going to be visible on the battlefield. Again, the cape is going to block that out, but also because the cape is actually it is going to blot out or block out the light coming from above. So there's going to be less light coming in. It's going to be less sort of focused light from the top. It's more going to be the ambient light or reflected light from whatever is around him wherever he's standing. So, but I am still going to be doing a little bit of highlighting on the bottom parts, mainly because if it does show, if someone looks at him, then it does look a little bit nicer to just even that out a little bit, lighten it up, brighten it up a little bit. So yeah. So that is it for this guy. I just need a third, and I am missing a third handle at the moment, because this switching, I mean, it takes a few seconds to switch in a model, but it's just the concept of having to do it that annoys me a little bit. Yeah. And let's see how many jokes we can get out of Modifian on this one. Let's just zoom in here and do it real up close and personal. This is for you, Modifian. No? No comments, no sleazy jokes. I am most disappointed. Hey, Bilban! Board game guy. Thank you. I am absolutely sure you're looking good as well, as least as far as I can tell from the surveillance cameras. Satellite photos is looking good as well. Seem to be having a nice day over there. And so here we actually have an example of why I say that you should not correct your mistakes when you make them. Just below the belt, when I did the belt here, right there, I had actually let some of the brown spill onto his pants. And in the past, what I would have been doing was I would have tried to fix it immediately just after painting the brown. But knowing that I would be back here anyway to highlight the pants, I just let it slide. And that's actually a hard thing for me to do for reasons. So, and here going straight back, it did not take me long. It was just basically just part of the normal process of doing the highlights anyway, which means that I did not waste time, switching paints, finding the right color, fixing the brown I had painted down too much. It just almost fixed itself. It didn't really, but it's just would have been fixed. It's something that would have was fixed naturally as part of this process. So why stop and do it before? Anyway, I'm just spouting out sage advice here. Oh, Bill Ben, you're always posing. That is nice. We appreciate it. See, here we have one of the things I talked about before, that I have to figure out how far in am I actually going to do the highlights. Because if light is coming from above, then it's going to hit the front of his thigh here, but it's not going to reach his inner thigh. So I'm just going to leave it at that, even though it's kind of in the middle of a surface. Oh, congrats, Wohin. I will be rooting for you. I will not be crossing my fingers because painting with crossed fingers seems bad. But if you look here, you'll see sort of a light. I'm looking at the camera picture here to get it. This is the part I painted in here, and what comes in between his leg down to, again, the nasty mold line that I didn't fix up. That's the old color, and it looks really weird because it's just like, painting literally on the leg. It looks like I just did that, which is what I did. But if you look at it from an angle, then it has to look like this because it's darker in between his legs. Yeah, you can quote me on that. So yeah. So that's one of the things where you have to use a little bit of sort of artistic talent, which I don't have a lot of, in deciding where to stop using the highlight color based on the model, based on where the light is coming from. How do I want the model to look from different angles? What should be highlighted even more? If I wanted to do a far better, more visible, more sort of popping model, I would thin down or lighten up the paint with some probably some white, maybe a little bit of yellow. what Modifian you are, and you have what? Made lewd comments? Okay, you quoted me on that. Perfect. What did your wife say? But you know, all that about, you know, not being good at doing highlights and that, all that aside, I actually do think that it is a very rewarding and actually for me personally a very fun experience to do, because I'm learning so much new about the entire painting process. And I actually somehow have found, I don't want to call it courage, but I found a way to make me actually just jump into it and try it out, knowing that it's probably not going to be perfect, but also knowing that there's only one way forward. Oh, she's busy sewing gold and gems on your daughter's pirate Fastelounge costume, carnival costume. Well, that is an important thing to do. Okay, so what's next? Next up, we have the hair, and for the hair, we need to do something about all three of them. Hair colors, anyone? I mean, we could break the color scheme completely and go fluorescent green. Oh, you didn't get the boss, Wohin. That is such a shame, and especially in roguelike games, because you don't just pull out a save game and start over. So nope. Obviously green. I knew you would say that, Modifian. I'm gonna make a little bit of noise for just a short while, because I got an idea. And yeah, this is the shaky thing. Big unlock. Okay, so what? Just a second. So what did you unlock, Wohin? Well, I don't have a neon pink. I know that's a huge mistake. Please don't abandon me, Modifian. Um, no, but I actually wanted to go for a slightly different color. So we're actually going here. The Panzer Aces, one of the German ones. Okay, so that sounds cool, Wohin. New kind of gate, always fun, unless you're playing Eldritch Horror. Then you don't want more gates. Yeah, I'm looking at this and going, that's gonna be dangerously close to his skin color. But hopefully just a little bit, just a smidgen more sort of grayish brown to it. I think that might actually be working. You see on the head that you cannot see because it's not in frame, because I zoomed in before, because I am retarded. Well, I'm not. I'm an idiot. I'm not retarded. Sorry about that. It's the wrong word to use. depth of unlocks in this game, that's the game Hades, is amazing. Did I mention that? I don't know if you mentioned it or not, but I had a feeling that it would be. From the few games I've played, there is so much going on in that game, and it just keeps on giving. And with all the Greek gods giving you, are they called boons? Favors? Whatever. When you die to the last boss, the game registers you as killed by redacted. That way there can be no spoilers. Yeah. Where would that spoiler be? I mean, you're at the boss, or is it just or is it just a an achievement or whatever you get? I mean, I'm guessing it would have to be visible for other people for it to contain spoilers in the first place. Ugh. Small areas of a small miniature that needs to be painted with a small brush held in very large fingers. Not a good combination. But it seems to be working. Okay, cool. I will get there eventually, that is true. So that is this guy's hair done, almost done at least. I need colors for the two others, and no, fluorescent green is not an option. So yeah, I mean, it is kind of close to his face, but with the right style of ink, I'm guessing going really dark for the hair and more reddish, brownish with the skin. I also need to touch up his face a little bit, give it that extra layer for better coverage. Yeah, I mean the shade is gonna take care of some of it, but having a nice solid base coat works better for me. Just gonna touch up the face. I'm not hearing any suggestions for hair color for the other good dudes here. But that's okay. I think this guy, I'm just gonna go for, you know, it's actually not that visible, so I'm just gonna do a cheap and dirty trick to get it to look like it's black. And for that, we're gonna need first just a smidgen of white to cover up a past mistake. See here on his chin, this wasn't actually his chin. So yeah. Now, for those of you who remember, we did the purplish hair on Perdita a while back. What we're doing here is kind of going in the opposite direction, where I actually do a full white of the hair, and then I'm gonna shade it down aggressively with black, probably in more than one coat. But I'm not going to be using the contrast paints like I did on Perdita, because I actually want the white to shine through a lot more clearly, and I want the purple on Perdita to shine through. So the contrast paint, I think, would work against that. Would cover too much. And then once I have his hair shaded down to black, I will just gently highlight it again, selectively, very selectively, with white. And we'll see what comes of that. Also, why I'm not going all the way out to the edge up here under his hat. I really want to leave at least a little bit of a sort of black edge around it. A bit like if you have a cell shading, a sort of cartoonish style shading, that can work. And the last dude. I think for this guy we're gonna go into the sort of yellowish kind of. Yeah, you know, we could cheat a little bit here. We could actually just go. I really don't want to give him more brown, but brown is a very valid color. So to get a slightly dirty brown, we're gonna go for just a sepia ink on it, and let's see how that goes. Okay, so that was way too much. Let's just get it out there a little bit. It actually has some green qualities to it, sort of this sort of dirty look is getting here. So you do get your greenish hair. And the front locks here. And you see how little paint I actually need before it gets completely soaked. So let's just try with a, this is with a slightly drier brush this time, just trying to soak up some of it. And yeah, there we go. Is that? No, that's his. I have decided that is his ear. So this is actually sort of a fairly dirty-ish light brown. Here's dirty, it's moldy. Oh, Pizza Hunt. Yeah, that's cool. Waheen, I'll be shutting down about 30 minutes, and then I usually spend about another 15-20 minutes and then the break. So in about an hour, I'll grab hold of you or just go on adventuring myself. So, on to more fun, just shaking up some paint, which makes a lot of noise. For their faces, we're using the flesh wash, which is sort of a reddish, brownish, deep brown. No, not deep brown. Just reddish brown, I guess. Let's get that in there. Nice. And especially around the eye sockets here, I really want them to be marked quite clearly, because that really draws in the observer's eye, and it looks so sinister when they're really, really deep set and dark like this. I will not be putting in an iris and the white of the eye, whatever that's called. I've forgotten at the moment. Simply because it will never look as good as this part here is looking. And if we kind of just look here, now it's going to be less shiny once it dries. But that actually looked quite well. Let us do this in this guy here. Let's do the same. So this is a guy with a very exaggerated face. He's really smiling. So, and again, even though sort of the wash goes in a very thick layer, you can still control where it pools the most. It takes a little bit of getting to know the paints, but when I just slightly dab at it, like here, you can't really see that, can you? I just gently do it here around his mouth. You can see I add a little bit of extra shade, and then flows down a little bit onto his cheeks, which is kind of the effect I'm going for with him. So yeah. Last guy here, I am not gonna bother about the paint handle. I will definitely regret that in a little bit when I make some kind of mistake. This is a guy who's got a cigarette in his mouth. We'll finish that up later. For now, it's just gonna be less shaded. Well, who knows? Maybe he's smoking flesh cigarettes. Is that a thing? I don't know. I've never smoked. And just a little bit more around his mouth to make that look great. Okay, that was the 10th or so time I hit the camera tonight. Now, while all of this dries, let us do something about those pesky guns of theirs. And let's not use my good brush for that. The metal flakes supposedly are really unhealthy for your paintbrushes. So let us take this is actually a cheap one. It's one of the army painters from the hobby line. and I never really liked it. And then the split got all wonky. So a few streams ago, I actually just took a pair of pliers and just cut off tips completely. So now it has sort of a flat finish. You know, we have all the bristles that would normally go up in sort of like a tip. Now they're sort of more like flat. That wasn't flat, but you get the idea. So I can kind of use that to do a little bit of sort of semi dry brushing, which I think is gonna, it just gives that nice little effect. I mean, that's just a few strokes of the brush, you know, dry brushing from the top down. You can always already see it quite visibly. So that is good. That's how it should be. Now, it's not mandatory that you drop your brush like I just did, but it is a good exercise to, you know, get a little bit of what's it called, variation in what you're doing. So you're not just sitting and painting, you're also suddenly frantically trying to save the brush before it falls down on your pads with paint on it. I'm just full of good tips today. So these guys, other than the guns, they also have some metal parts on their boots. I think all of them have. We're also going to be plugging in. And then they do have, you know, like the, it's called bandoliers, where they have all the ammunition for their guns. I think I'm just going to take, I do have a sort of fine pointed cheap brush as well that I can use for the metal, and just get a little bit more precision that I would be able to with this cutoff brush here. Can just ever so gently, not, when you're doing this, don't have too much paint on your brush. Just a little bit, because just a little bit of that metallic color will catch the light. Look at the gun on his right hand. Just having it there, it just catches the eye. Down with the pro tips, says Modifian. Well, I hope you're taking note, Modifian, because I will be quizzing you when you come out here when we can, and you're going to be painting a miniature. I am not entirely sure what this guy is holding, but it looks like more than just the gun. Whatever. That is neither here nor there. Let's move on. And so this guy here, he's got, you know, like the, on his boots, very sort of visible, heavy armor, I guess it is. Okay, so remember, kids, you heard it here first. When Modifian comes out here to paint a model, what she will be doing is actually gluing her fingers together. Is that a promise, Modifian? Thanks, Bilben. See you around. Have a great day. I hope your workday was good, and I hope you have a great evening. Thanks for stopping by. I mean, these ones here, they're gonna look fairly black, and didn't do a good job of doing the shading around them on the boots and stuff like that, and I'm not gonna fix that. So it's just gonna be how it is. But the handle here and the crossbar on the sword, just again, I'm just gonna do it from on top and down. I'm not gonna paint it. I'm still dry brushing it, still pulling, just, you know, as I said, pulling from the top down, which means that the lower, I'm not pulling it all the way down even, which means that sort of the lower part of the crossbar here, the crossbar or cross handle is brighter here than it is down there. Not by a lot, but just a little bit. So that's just a small trick to make it look like it is, it has that extra little bit of shading. Last time I didn't really know what to do with these bits in here on this side, so since I don't have anything better lined up, it's just gonna get a slightly more visible metallic, just to make it appear, maybe if I can make it a little bit metallic. Oh, and Modifian, was that a 100% guarantee that you will be gluing your fingers together? I hope it is, because I know people that will really enjoy seeing that. Again, we're doing tabletop ready. We are not doing display quality painting here. So let us quit while we are ahead. I mean, look at that face. I know it's really emphasized with the eyes, but I kind of like that look. So Modifian writes that yes, she will be gluing her fingers together when she comes join me on stream at some point. And she also writes, I will start the trend. Every stream guest will follow in my footsteps or be shunned. Now enlighten us, what does follow mean? Because coming from you, it could be anything. I am so funny. Yes, I am Modifian. You know I am. And I know that I am because you tell me that I am. So that's all good. We are, I think, actually coming up to the end of these models. I need to cut them off the piece of cork they're standing on. And then I need to do some bases for them. I'm not entirely sure when or what I will be doing. I think I want to keep them in the same style as the rest of Perdita's crew, which is, for most of them at least, it's a grass finish on the bases. It's probably going to be something fairly simple like that. Again, here you can see I kind of only sort of semi-dry brush the top half of the sword here. That way the top half, I mean the edge pointing upwards and that's because then the lower part will actually function as a sort of built-in shade, which will emphasize the brighter top edge, if we can call it that. At least that's my experience, that it's a good way of doing it. So just like with highlighting, you highlight the pieces that are up. The piece that is on the lower side here is darker. The one that's up here gets brighter. Makes it look a little bit better when it's on the table, in normal daylight, for instance. So yeah, guess that was the metal on this dude. And we have this guy here. I mean, his boots are really weird, if you ask me. They've got this sort of metal sort of shoe around them on the inside, and on the back here is just all over the place. Too much. Now, the fun thing here is that I can hear my work laptop in the background making a lot of noise. And it doesn't sound like the normal noises it's making, so I probably should check on that at some point. I guess I didn't shut it down after work today. Remember when I was starting out painting back in the 90s, I loved doing metallics, especially chainmail. Oh man, I loved doing that. Mainly because it was so easy to make it look good, but it just added something. Also, I was painting dwarves a lot for my Warhammer army. So there was a lot of chainmail, and it was usually a fairly huge and central piece of the miniature on the spearmen, for instance. But even so, yeah, it sounds like Discord, it does actually. But that's odd. Why would so many people send me so many messages on Discord? I'm not important. I can see I'm straying a little bit from my advice with, dry brushing from up and going down. That's mainly because I actually want all of this to have a metallic finish. So let's just get it in. I should probably do some long grass for this dude to hide his very, in my opinion, very ugly boots, especially on the sort of heel and tip of the toes. Tom Bosch, Tom, thank you for subscribing. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Welcome to the last, 10 minutes? With any luck, I will just about manage to get these 3 guys done. Well, as I said, I do have the bases to work on for them afterwards. But if the miniatures themselves are painted, that's for me that's a good milestone. I still need to fix up the hair for 2 of them, so you do get to see that. And what's Tom saying? You've been doing puzzles on Monique's stream and your brain is a bit fried. Well, you have come to the right place, because here you will feel very, very intelligent compared to me, because my brain is also fried. Not quite at the point where I can't speak properly anymore, but getting close to it. There we go. Boots, not pretty, but done. Brush, pretty messed up from the metallic paint. but that's okay. It was a cheap, worn-out, cut-off brush. That is, no, it's a brush I have for this purpose. So, what did we have? This guy, his hair is done. So I actually think, I mean, his face is he has very bronzed flesh, but I'm gonna leave it at that. He's basically finished with the flowing red sash and all of that. I'll be doing the bases as I said in a little bit. Well, not in a little bit, but later, probably off stream. This guy here, I need to do something about his hair. And for his hair, we're going all the way down to a dark tone to get it sort of nearly black finish. I'm just looking at my wet palette going, where do I have room for more paint? It's still a mess. It always is. So, but Tom, it sounds cool with the puzzles. What kind of puzzles? There's a book called Maze of Games, and we've been working through that the last few streams. I have missed the last many streams of hers, mostly because many of them are way too late for me to be awake. Monique is known as Games Geek Freak Girl, if I can remember that right. I can never get the right sequence. Feel free to give her a shout out. I don't know if the SO command works. I don't look at those things. Sorry about that. But Tom, please drop a link to Monique's stream. She's fun to watch. She is a very pleasant person to listen to and talk to. She's got great humor. So, yeah. Yeah, no shout outs. Sorry. But anyway, at least people now you have her nickname, her handle. So now, Tom, you didn't see this, but Modifian and Wohin, when I painted his hair and his skin, they were almost the same color. But right now you can clearly see which is which. And that is the power of shading. So with that done, I declare that he's also finished. And we just need the last guy here, where we're gonna have fun with his hair, because I just painted it all white. So we need some proper black. That was the 20th time I hit the camera today. So we're gonna get full on black and just give it a really hard shade and see where that lands us. Now maybe a little bit too much on the brush there. It blows off in all the wrong places. It actually also has the added advantage of giving sort of a gray sheen to the rest of, to the parts that were white before, and then going hopefully proper dark at the bottom. That at least is the theory. So let's see where we are. You know what? It's actually going to work quite well, I think. I mean, it's a little bit sort of a random effect. Wasn't exactly what I was aiming at. So in a sense, that's sort of a fail on my part. But I do like the effect nonetheless. And this is sort of one of the points I would like to make to people watching. Experiment, try something new. Let's see here. can get him. What do we have? Focus. It focuses around down here. I mean, he went from straight white hair to this sort of grayish. That stands out quite a bit compared to his coat and all that. Of course, the coat goes on here. I painted it along with the rest of it last time, so he gets this on his back. The only thing left on this guy is actually gonna need a little bit of white. His cigarette. Just gonna tip it in with some white, and once that is done, I'm going to give it just a spot of orange at the very end, simply to try to fake it so it looks like it's shiny. And I know that this is actually going to look incredibly white, but remember the last time you looked at someone who actually stood somewhere with a cigarette in their mouth? If it wasn't sort of a cigarilla or whatever they're called, it's called cerut in Danish, some of it, or a cigar, they are actually really white. So that was the 30th time I bumped the camera. Again, sorry about that happening. Okay. How did I get white up underneath his hat? And what do I do to get rid of that? I will just do... I'll just quickly do this. Basically just going to tone it down a little bit. Maybe fix it up at some later point. But for now it's less, at least it's less visible. And as I said, just need the orange, but I am not going to go for a full out. I mean, I'm not going to go for this full out orange. That's going to be way too visible. Consider doing the yellow, because the yellow is more difficult to actually get right. But I want it to be toned down. Actually, I think I am going to do the orange, but I'm going to cheat. You know I always cheat. So I'm going to mix in a little bit of brown shade. So we actually thin it down a little bit with the shade, and we get it a little darker in its color. Just about getting it over here. I need to get an extra camera pointed down at my wet palette, I think. Because that way, let's explain here. No, that does not come out well on camera. Suffice it to say that the orange is, what do we have? Anything we can paint? It is now less orangey. Just show you the orange next to it. Not visible on camera, I guess. But again, it's the sometimes for these things, it really is the small details that matter. So what I really just need to do here is I need to find an angle where I can see what I'm doing. Yeah. What about the bright orange and a very dark brush like ash on top? That could be an idea. Now I'll just do this. That does not come through at all. Because the thing is, the tip is like, what, 1/10 of a millimeter? So I can, looking at the model, I cannot see the actual color of the orange, but I can see that there's something different, something other. Okay, here I can actually see the orange compared to the white. Where we go? Really difficult to catch on camera. Here, maybe a little bit, and doing the ash effect is a really cool thing, and a lot of people would do it. But I basically just need to break the white of the cigarette, but not actually paint far down. So it's just a tip, just a little bit of the side. So if I'm looking straight at him, I'm only seeing the orange. I'm looking from the side, I have just a teeny tiny sliver. And yeah, it's like the eyes. Doing a portrait was not doing a lot. Yeah, but at least this is at the tip of the cigarette, which means that if I don't hit it, I'm not gonna. I could be painting, you know, down along the cigarette. Okay, that was all the wrong things, but but I just need to paint the tip, which is less risk of me doing a huge mistake here than if I'm doing the oh shoot, I've completely forgot his hands. Less risk of that than if, you know, doing the eyes is terrible. Here I forgot to shade his hands, so they looked mighty boring and bright. Let's just get a little bit. And again, he's got his coat going for him in a little bit, so it's just going to be just a quick shade job. And again, it just needs, you know, unlike the pants, which are a lot larger, this just needs to look like it's been shaded. Let's do the underside as well. It just needs to show a little bit, like, you know, his clenched fist should just be a little bit darker in here, and that's perfectly fine. So with that being done, I think we came all the way to the end for these three guys. Just flip them up a little bit. Gonna fall over anytime soon. Yeah, one of them started moving there. So yeah, so there you have it. 3 Pistoleros for Malifaux's guild faction for use with my Perdita crew. And yeah, again, they have a lot of brown to them, but I'm trying to go for my impression and interpretation of what are these the guild hunters here. What are they doing? They're not trying to be shiny and visible. They're actually trying to be hiding out, making ambushes and all that. So they're gonna need something that blends in, and I just see them in my mind running around in sort of like a Wild West style scenario where you have the red dirt and all that. So let's see what we can do. In the meantime, who do we have online for a quick raid? We have plenty of people. We have some board gamers, we have Rex, and we have Corpse. And Corpse and Rex are playing Rocket League, but let us go give some love to Rex because he's such a nice guy. And that will happen fairly soon. I hope you join us over there. I will put on my headphones so I can hear if he says anything fun and interesting. It has been an absolute pleasure having you here, guys. It is always a pleasure having you with me, and it seems like we have 0 viewers ready to raid. You know what, actually I promised Corpse I would raid him later, so let us go there instead. Me and 0 raiders is gonna be sad. Sad. But anyway, it has been a pleasure having you here. I hope you're doing well. I hope you have a great night. I don't know why you're not there, Modifian. It just says 0 viewers. But anyway, maybe you will get here, maybe you won't.
Raiders, how you doing, Shalom? How you doing, everybody? How you like the new quality of stuff? Oh. Hello, Wohan. I was playing some Baldur's Gate. I'm just having a rest. And I'm gonna boot it up again a little bit later. I just needed to cool my brain off. Because I was sitting there overthinking it a bit. Baldur's Gate 3, max graphics. All cutscenes. Okay, now I see why Shalma was miserable. Well, he has... his beard is shaped better. It's more taken care of. Mine is a Corona beard. It's just crazy everywhere. Like, there's one person that I meet pretty much every day. What he tells me is that he's jealous of my beard because he loves the hobo style. And I don't know if I should feel flattered or offended, but I feel a little bit of both. But it's all just crazy growth. Haven't done anything since Corona started. So how have you been, Shalom? Have you been doing? What have you been streaming today, my friend? Hopefully you had some good times. Been doing the... Not everyone can get to be a Byzantine god. Some of us have to be bears. Yeah, true, true. Mini painting. Oh, what did you make today? I'm really curious about that because I do love your artwork. I really like the mini figures you do. So I'm really curious, like, what did you do today? I wasn't able to watch, sadly, because, you know, you do stuff. Oh, shebang. Pistoleros? Ah, cool. I really want to see that. You got that as a VOD or something? Or do you have it as a finished product with pictures somewhere later on? Hey man, you streamed and played and did awesome. Thank you. Thank you. That was real nice of you. Uppity, padapado. Final second. Post it in Discord. Yeah, I really want to see it. Like, I know I don't comment much on it, but basically what I do is just enjoy the artwork. I'm like the kind of dude you bring to a museum and he just silently goes everywhere and like, But I am a little bit picky on some things. Get the feeling that he doesn't want to sit through the agonizing process of deciding lime green hair or hot pink hair. I think he just wants to see what we ended up with. Doesn't sound like a true fan. I have been there for a couple of his streams. Like, I sit there and I look at what he does, and I do try to think of some input, but usually Sham knows best. Down would even down. No, I'm fine with it. I like it. I like it when Would even just like tears